Greetings here, it is I, Lucy Scary, and today I'm spicing things up a bit with a... I don't know what this is. It's, I guess, a topic speed paint. We're actually painting today, aren't you proud of me? And I wanted to talk a little bit about the evolution of these four characters, because I think that character creation and world building is just like any other skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and of course, the more that you develop a world and the longer that you have a world, the more crazy it's gonna get and the more complicated and the, I guess, in general better, but I suppose it could get worse. And I just wanted to go through these four characters and explore how they've changed in the 2 years by redrawing this old piece of them. The original drawing is from 2 years ago, back when the whole concept of the gang, in quotes, it was still a pretty new concept, and a lot of these characters were pretty new. This is from right to left. I think I wrote it down at the beginning, but this is knowledge, Muse, obsession, and intelligence. Muse looks a little different than he did in my Guide to My OC's video. When I was making that video, I noticed that I don't have any recent drawings of Muse. The only one I had was when he still had yellow hair. These four characters have changed a lot over the years, obviously, in appearance and also in personality. So originally, the gang was just these four young overseers who were just living it up on Earth. It was supposed to be like 3000 BC, but they were all wearing modern clothes except for Muse. I don't know what my thought process behind that was. I remember a lot of the times I would justify the overseers having modern clothes by being like, well, they come from a very modern society, so it probably just looks like that. But looking back, it's just really dumb. So they were just like aliens, basically, living it up on Earth in their giant spaceship and then just like doing stuff. You know, not a lot of development, but I thought it was a cute concept to just watch my characters run around on Earth and have fun until it ends horribly, because you know it's not a Sarah story unless it's edgy. Yeah, I think Obsession like murdered them all at the end. He murders somebody. He murdered somebody at the end, but all these characters are alive, and Obsession was the only one that died. So I don't know. Explain that. So now what the story is if you watch my Guide to My OC's video, I talked about how their powers are stored in their crystal. It's a little more complicated than that, and I'm gonna get into that a bit here. In this world, there's two basic functions, vessel and power. And normal human souls fall under the power side, and bodies, like our physical forms, fall under the vessel side, but overseers also have an external power that is their overseer spirit. So their spirit is tied to their power. So you could almost think about overseers as this hollow shell that's wearing their soul around their neck in the form of a necklace. And of course, if they don't have a necklace, their soul is just in their body like normal, and it functions the same. It's kind of just a weird way to explain it. But basically, because overseers can't die, but their bodies can be destroyed under very specific circumstances, if their body is destroyed, they just reform as a new body. But the thing is, because their brain was destroyed, all their memories are gone. So they essentially just are reborn as a newborn baby. Like, let's say an overseer is wearing their necklace, and then their head gets chopped off by a more powerful overseer, and their body crumbles to ash. The ash will just reform into a baby, a newborn baby, with a necklace still around its neck. That was a little bit of a long-winded explanation for a very simple thing. Basically, these characters, obsession, knowledge, and intelligence, had that happen to them, how they died and were reformed. But the problem is the overseers as a group didn't know that this happened whenever they died, so all they knew was that they watched all their friends died, and they just took their ash and their gems to the river and threw them down the river until because it's like a funeral or whatever. And so at the bottom of the river, these three newborn babies appear, and they're found by some humans. Now, I haven't picked an exact location for where these humans are from. It's 3000 BC, so I have a little bit of wiggle room. I'm just making stuff up at this point. So basically, these people come from this group of communities that kind of worship insects. So, intelligence and knowledge resemble a white moth that is like the patron whatever of one community, and obsession resembles kind of in a way the monarch. I can't remember what the orange butterfly that we see everywhere. And so they are taken by those respective communities and raised as gods. Knowledge and intelligence, you may notice, are wearing these weird capes things. They're actually supposed to emulate how the moth looks. And Obsession is actually wearing a kind of also weird cape thing that looks like the monarch butterfly. This is a lot of explanation. You may be asking yourself, okay, what about Muse? Muse was just born as a regular overseer and raised by the overseers and was told stories of these powerful overseers that used to exist but died. The overseers sometimes visit Earth, but they don't interact with the humans a lot. But Muse one day gets separated from the overseers and is found by the communities who recognize his strange hair and strange eyes as being similar to those of their gods and goddesses. At this point in time, Obsession, Intelligence, Knowledge, they're all like 13, 14, 15, and have been raised as gods. So at least one of them has a significant god complex. So Muse is like, oh snap, you guys are totally those people that my parents told me about. Why are you here? Why are you kids? He doesn't say this because he's a scaredy cat, but he's thinking it. Obsession, Knowledge, and Intelligence are just happy to have a friend that is on the same level as them. So they all kind of just become friends. And Muse is like, hey, I'd really like to get home. And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll try to help you. So their story is trying to help Muse get home. And meanwhile, Muse is like trying to probe them for information about the overseers, but realizes pretty quickly that they don't remember anything. And then he's like, are they overseers? But he just knows that he really wants to get them back to the other overseers to see if he's right or whatever. That's as much as the story as I think I've ever developed. So let's talk about the characters now. So starting from the very right, also don't worry, I fix her face later on. Knowledge used to be this incredibly snobby, know-it-all girl that was just like always bossing people around and telling people what to do. And she basically only existed in relationship to Intelligence, because this all served as part of Intelligence's tragic backstory, TM. All these characters are going to be very much, they serve to this purpose to Intelligence. And Knowledge, being Intelligence's twin sister, was just completely obsessed with him and like thought he was the coolest, best, mostest, awesomest person in the world, TM. Pretty much everybody thought Intelligence was the bestest person in the world. What a tragic backstory. I used to have this really hard time in my mind characterizing Intelligence because I was always torn between making him sarcastic and like kind of like depressed boy TM and making him the quiet depressed boy TM. So I always say that I kind of split Intelligence's character into Deduction and Intelligence, whereas Deduction is more the sarcastic, makes dumb jokes, flirty, kind of depression naps boy, and Intelligence is the very like straight-faced, doesn't show much emotion, secretly depressed boy. And I realized looking back on a lot of old drawings and old depiction of Knowledge, I kind of did that with her in Puzzles too, whereas Knowledge turned into more of this sweetheart, adorable kid that just is in way over her head, and Puzzles kind of became this snobby, know-it-all, always grammar Nazi that she is. And I'm hoping that makes a little bit more sense now that I've made the Guide to My OCs video and people actually can tell what characters I'm talking about. Knowledge used to basically be Puzzles, and now she is just a sweetheart. Knowledge and Intelligence were kind of the co-leaders of this community, but Intelligence was really the one that did most of the leading, so she's always kind of been jealous of Intelligence's position and Intelligence's intelligence. So Knowledge knows everything, but she's real dumb. And Intelligence is real smart, but he doesn't know anything. Because the Overseers have incredibly powerful souls in these incredibly human bodies. And sometimes it just is too much. And that was the case for Knowledge. Problem is, Knowledge, whenever she was first born, knew how to lock away her knowledge. And she made the decision to lock away her knowledge of everything, so it only comes to her in bits and pieces, so she's just dumb. And Intelligence is real smart. He has a really hard time like remembering things and like knowing about things, but he's smart enough to make up for it. So the community more looks to Intelligence as opposed to Knowledge. Knowledge is kind of like the face of the operation, the like lovable, like, oh, everybody loves Knowledge, but Intelligence is the one that actually is doing stuff. They're not ruling the community, they're more of the spiritual guiders. She also serves as Obsession's love interest. because Obsession has a god complex, so he sees the humans, using finger quotes there, as being below him, and knowledge and intelligence are below him, but they're just barely below him to his annoyance, even though he knows that he secretly thinks that intelligence is better than him, but he refuses to admit it to himself. So he's like, fine, I guess I like you, but he's super tsundere about it. We'll get more into Obsession later. So yeah, so she went from snotty know-it-all to baby girl. Let's talk about Muse. Muse used to be just like this real scared boy that just idolized intelligence. Like, I swear I did not know intelligence was this much of a Mary Sue originally, or Gary Stu. You know, like the character that everybody loves and is just really good at everything. Like, I didn't realize that intelligence used to be that character because I made him suffer so much. He was like such a Gary Stu though, now that I'm thinking about it. So yeah, Muse's entire characterization was he's this ball of sunshine that's terrified of everything and idolizes intelligence. I have this incorrect quotes blog for my overseers that I've mentioned a couple times. I used to have this tag called, I think it was Insanity Let Muse Speak. Obsession used to be named Insanity. I'll get into why I changed it later in this video. Let me find the tag real quick. This blog is so old, honestly. I've actually had it since I drew the original piece. Yeah, it's Insanity, please just let Muse talk. None of these are my quotes. They're from other things. But this just kind of sums up their dynamic. Muse, don't break someone's heart. They only have one. Insanity. Yeah, break their bones. They have 206 of those. Muse. I wish I could make people nervous. Insanity. Holding a knife to their neck usually does the trick for me. Like, gosh darn. Muse. What do you call sabotage and vandalism? Insanity. A hobby. Muse. ... Insanity. That I do not engage in. I don't know why I just went on that tangent. If you have a lot of OCs, make an incorrect quotes blog for them and then link me to it below because it's great. It's so much fun. So, Muse used to be entirely just like fodder, basically. He would be the initiation for Obsession to make fun of him and intelligence to look cool. So either knowledge would be a know-it-all or Muse would do something dumb and then Obsession and intelligence could come along and be like, huh, look at those idiots, we're so much better than them. So now, I guess his personality isn't super different. He's still optimistic and he's still a scaredy cat, but he has agency now. So instead of just being one of the boys, or one of the people in the gang. So when Muse gets lost, he's adopted by intelligence and knowledge's community. And in his eyes, intelligence... Is this spoilers? He thinks that intelligence is the overseer that he's been told about, not knowledge. And he's like, intelligence is a kid that's my age. And he's so cool. So he's like really looks up to intelligence and is terrified of obsession and knowledge. And all he wants to do is find his way home and bring his friends. So I guess he hasn't actually changed that much. His design has changed. If I properly explain this, it'll take like 3 hours. He originally had yellow hair because of a world building reason, but now that world building reason no longer exists, and so it kind of just is a weird thing to have two characters with yellow hair that always are hanging out. So I gave him blue hair instead because it kind of fits his music. I don't know, I think of Muse as being a very blue character. And so I had to redesign what the Overseer's fashion looked like, which is not something I like to do. Character design and just fashion in general, even drawing clothes, they're not my strong suit. Whenever I think about how the Overseers look, I think high fantasy technology. So like, imagine like high fantasy elves and then mixed with like the futuristic sci-fi look. And I did do a great job displaying that in Muse's design, but I still think he looks cute. Also, you may notice that Muse has a gem ring. I didn't want to give him a necklace or a bracelet because he was already looking so much like a girl that I was like, I need to find some other masculine way. I don't really have anything else to say about Muse. Now, let's talk about Obsession. Obsession used to be my murder boy. He still is my murder boy in my heart, but now he has a personality. So Obsession used to be named Insanity. There used to be two characters, Insanity and Madness, and they were the villains of the series. And then I kind of got a bit of a wake-up call, and I realized that having my big villain be a personification of mental illness might not be the best move on my part. Because I was all like, oh man, I hate it when mentally ill people are made to be villains in series. And gosh, it's so problematic how mentally ill people are portrayed in the media. Anyway, so my OC Insanity just murdered everybody. I'm like, Okay, so I turned madness into a character named Passion, and insanity became obsession. I think that it's better because obsession isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can be bad. And obsession, being obsessed with revenge, kind of is the entire plot of this entire universe. He still is kind of crazy, but like not like crazy like he actually has a mental illness, but crazy as in he thinks that he can solve all his problems by holding a knife to somebody's throat. And I mean, he's not wrong. So Obsession's community was a little bit more war-like than Intelligence and Knowledge's. He was worshipped a lot more than Intelligence and Knowledge. We gotta call them something different. Telly and Noe. Telly and Nono. Telly and Ledge. The Dream Team. The twins. The twins. Also, it's their birthday. May 25th will be their birthday, so we're just gonna call this an early birthday gift because I don't want to redraw them because I don't want to draw them again right after I drew them, so. So the twins were more respected as spiritual leaders that kind of just like advised the tribes and spoke for the gods or whatever, but Obsession was treated like a war god, so anytime that the community was going to war or like going out to hunt, they would like sacrifice to Obsession, and it just gave this boy a real big god complex. When the two communities finally let the children meet each other, Obsession didn't like the fact that there were other people on his level, so at first he was like, you guys are idiots and I'm so much better than y'all, and Intelligence was kind of like, okay, and Knowledge was like, oh my gosh, she's so hot. No, they were like 2, so that doesn't make sense. Also, Obsession has a huge crush on Knowledge, but he's super tsundere about it because when they were like 10 or so, he confessed, and Knowledge is like, no thank you, because Knowledge is really focused on trying to be a better spiritual leader like her brother is, because everybody loves her brother. Well, she thinks she has it in her mind that everybody loves her brother and that nobody really respects or cares about her, and Obsession is like the ultimate respect because like people literally like kill for him. I love him. So because of all that, Knowledge was like, no, I don't think that we should date or anything because they're like 10. And Obsession, well, she was like, I don't think that we should get married when we're older. And Obsession is like, I didn't really want to get married to you anyways. Like, so Obsession is really obsessed with making sure that everybody knows that he's the best, and that's why he doesn't really like Intelligence, because Intelligence is like super unfazed. Obsession is like, I'm better than you, and Intelligence is just like, okay. So Muse comes along and they're treating Muse on the same level, and the communities are like, oh, Muse must also be a god, and Obsession is like, Muse, you're the worst, and he's like, oh no, I'm so sorry. He's like, yes, finally somebody that respects me. So yeah, that's why he likes Muse, but he always picks on Muse, and Muse just thinks that he hates him. He gets better. Kinda. He's a bad, no, like, don't get me wrong. It's because he's so terrible at first that I love him, because characters that go through a whole character development are the best, and he does. But y'all don't know that, so you probably just think he sucks, which is fair. So finally, Intelligence. Intelligence was the most fleshed out originally because, like I said, this was all Intelligence's backstory, so all these characters kind of existed in relationship to him. So his personality hasn't changed as much as it used to be. Like, he would go from being like stone-faced, no emotion, I'm just like the cool leader, to being like, make a sarcastic remark and be like super snarky, and then I was like, that doesn't make sense, but I couldn't pick, and so I did the whole splitting him with deduction. So it's more like his personality has been straightened out and made more consistent. It hasn't really changed that much. So originally he was just the quiet shadow leader of the gang back when they were just like aliens running around Earth, where Obsession or Insanity claimed he was the leader, but everybody looked to Intelligence as the leader, and he was just like this troubled soul that everybody loved. Now he's just the quiet leader of his community, and he's really overwhelmed with that responsibility because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just faking it, and everybody's like, oh, wise leader, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. But he doesn't show it because he's very much the type to like keep things to himself and not want to burden other people with his problems. He's not loved by everybody. A lot of people, like a lot of especially like the poor people, disagree with his judgment calls, and everybody kind of just loves Knowledge because she's just this idiot that runs around being cute, and everybody like is expecting him to be like some like their emotional stronghold. He's like, I'm 12. So he had to like grow up extremely fast. So he's not like jealous of his sister. I think that's a good divide. He's not jealous of her, he's envious of her. He really doesn't like attentions. He's really like, if he wasn't in this position, he'd be like a total wallflower. So being put in this position causes him a lot of stress. He's just a baby boy that doesn't deserve this. That's Intelligence's entire character. It used to be Obsession and him were best friends. Now they're more like rivals, but like Obsession, it's one of those things where Obsession thinks that they're rivals and Intelligence is just like K. So yeah, these characters have changed a lot. My art has changed a lot since originally drawing this piece. I wanted to redraw it last year, but I didn't. I like sketched out everything, but then at the end I started it and I thought it looked terrible, so I scrapped it. This week I was like, hey, I got like 2 days to get a video out and I've got a ton of homework to do. It was really bad because I didn't have enough small projects to make a work in progress video. And I didn't have a small project that was far enough away that I could finish it in 2 days. So I was like, I know, I'll just do a redraw. This was an incredibly dumb move on my part because I've been developing more of a painterly style lately where it's definitely not realism, but I'm just trying to blend the line art with the shading. I actually did this kind of on a whim with this piece. It was so on a whim that I didn't even like film it because I really just thought it was going to be a sketch. Normally I'm like, this will just be a sketch, but I'll film it anyways, and then it turns into a whole thing. But I was like, this time I was like, this is just going to be a sketch. And then I did the whole piece and I was like, crap, why didn't I film it? So I was like, oh, I'll do that painting style with this. Now, the original piece took me 4 hours to do. I know, this took 4 hours? What? How? I think it's just because there were so many characters and I wasn't used to drawing that many characters. So I was like, I'll just paint all these characters. It'll be fine. It took me over 8 hours to do, and I was pressed on time. So I literally had to take my drawing tablet to class with me. And I was like, hey, teach, what's your policy of drawing? Now, I love my teacher, but I don't understand him because he's one of those people that's incredibly passive, but he says it in such an aggressive way. He reminds me of those Southern people that are like, and I'm saying this because I am one of these people that are like, oh, it's totally fine if you just come into my house and eat all my food. Like, I'm not mad at all. And they're clearly mad at you, but like, they're just like, oh no, it's fine. It's fine. And so I was like, hey, teach, what's your policy on drawing? He's like, I don't have one. And I was like, can I draw them? He's like, it's your money. And I'm like, I'm still paying attention, sir. And then like, I told him like, I can still pay attention. I'll just be like, I'll be really quiet. I'll sit in the back. I won't bother anybody. He's like, sure, whatever. And in my mind, it's like incredibly aggressive. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he hates me. But then people are like, oh, it's fine, Sarah. He's just like, he told you that he draw. So then like, before class, I'm like sitting in the back trying to finish this piece. And the teacher's like, hey, you mind if I like grade your homework during class? And I'm like, you can't hear it, but I'm just blinking aggressively at the teacher. He's like, I know that we're supposed to have class right now, but I just need to finish this work. And so I'm like in the back and I stop drawing and I'm like, I can stop, sir, if you like. And the other students are like, Sarah, he's just picking on you. Dumb Sarah. And I'm like, listen, this sounds very aggressive. So I just felt incredibly uncomfortable the entire time, just sitting in the back trying to get this painting done because I had been working on it. I literally spent all day yesterday drawing this, and I've never done that before. I'm so proud of myself. That sounds really narcissistic, but I never, if you told me when I originally drew this that I was going to be able to paint it later and spend 8 hours on this one painting, I would have never believed you. But I'm definitely much more confident in painting now. I might have a little bit of PTSD because I got so stressed trying to get this video done and all my homework done. I still haven't done any of my homework. I got like a lot of reading to do, but I'm just gonna live with that. Anyway, so these characters have changed a lot. I've changed a lot. I feel like everything has definitely improved a lot. I hope that you enjoyed learning more about these characters. Hopefully you can understand them now a little bit more whenever I talk about them in the future. This is not their full story. This is just the very basic backstory of these characters. In fact, this is only part of the backstory for Intelligence. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you stay for me talking about more of my characters. Does this count as a Meet My OCs? It kind of does, right? Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!